Hey, Olga.
Hi, Alan. Nice to see you. Thank you.
You as well. Hey, Q.
Hi, Alan.
Hey,
Good to see you.
Fantastic. The theme of the day is, why are immigrant entrepreneurs so often successful, right? And that's the big theme of the day. And as we know, I was listing off earlier, just so many successful companies that we know of today that were founded by immigrants. We're speaking mostly about United States-based companies right now, and the entrepreneurship of that, and the amount of immigrant-based companies. So, of course, Google is a famous one, and you've got Instagram, and you've got the Kohl's shopping store. You've got Chobani yogurt. So many tech products as well, right? Including Yahoo, et cetera, et cetera. Like, you go down the list, and if you were to make a list of the top, even going back a long way, if you were to make a list of the top 20 or 50 successful U.S. companies, you would probably, I would say, you've been about half of them were started by immigrants, right? Going back, right? It would be like almost half, right? And even today, the ones that we use today, it's probably at least 30%. In fact, the last statistic that I saw is that one in four entrepreneurs today are first generation immigrants, right? So that's a pretty powerful statistic, and we're going to get into the why of that. Like, why is that the case? And not only why are they there in numbers, but why are they often successful? So disproportionately, you could even say, right? So we're going to get into that. But first, I want to talk about your backgrounds a little bit, right? And so, but before we want to get into the company that you guys work together at, it's called the Underdog, right? The Underdog. And Olga, you're the founder, and Q, you joined just recently within the last year. And so I want to talk about that. And the way I want to do it is to kind of share my screen and let you guys kind of take a look while you talk. I get to kind of walk through. I get to walk through it, right? So there's your subscription. Can you guys see your screen? Can you guys see the Underdog?
Yes.
All right, cool. All right. So this is the cool site. So you guys take a kick-ass picture here, and really, it's really amazing. And then I want to just point out some really cool things. People have to visit this website because not only is the blog amazing, and I call you guys satirical bloginistas, right? I think I coined that. Just so you know, I'm pretty sure I did, and I'm pretty proud of that because when I come to your site, I'm just laughing out loud when I read your blog. But I love these stats that you have out here. You're tracking the number of happy hours, the number of big egos identified. I know I'm not on that list. I know. But I love the zero
podcast if it increased.
You can't have a big ego and be a podcast host, right? Because you're supposed to be about the other people. You just can't do it. But 0 awards won. I think that's beautiful. 4,900 eye rolls and 8 imaginary team members. The honesty, the pithy, the just edginess of your site and your brand is like a real standout. And you're a Florida-based company, which we're going to get into. So this is the profiles. I want to go ahead and read these profiles, right? So Olga, all right? I'm going to read this while we go through this. So Olga is and I'm going to read it as you're a recovering communist. Olga is a recovering communist, and she is considered. So she was considered a management consultant. She considered management consulting an evil capitalistic profession growing up, right, in the Ukraine, right? And things changed when you made your first step into the American soil in 2009. You immediately discovered your talent for getting people's attention and capitalizing on it. When I read this, I'm actually going to I want to hop back and actually. I want to actually read this while you guys are in the screen, right? I think that would be more fun, right? So let's do it that way. So you guys can react. People can see your reaction as I read your blog, and you can get embarrassed. You immediately discovered your talent for getting people's attention and capitalizing on it. Arguably, people paid more attention because they were trying to figure out her Slavic with a sprinkle of Jersey accent, which when you and I talked before, I never asked you about the Jersey part. Some say they hear it even through her blog. So when they read your blog, they think they hear it. Olga relies on strategic creativity, enjoys analytics, and has no problems expressing her opinion at public events, interviews, and social media. So that's the promise of today. Okay.
Yes.
This is very public today. So far, no evidence of her being unreasonable has been scientifically proven. Not been proven yet. So she holds a master's degree in linguistics from Donetsk University, Ukraine, and an MBA with a concentration in finance from the University of Florida. And there was a little short stop at Oxford in UK, which we'll talk about later. Mm-hmm. Lacramiora, as otherwise known as Q, committed to making the lives of business people easier when she gave herself the nickname Q. Like you just basically said, I'm going to gift this to everybody so they can they can say my name, and that's pretty smart. I thought maybe Olga named you Q. I thought maybe that, but it sounds like you named it.
No.
Right? This decision alone is the best illustration of her ability to simplify complex, sometimes painfully unattainable problems into simple and creative solutions. We'll get into it later, but Q, you have 2 degrees in chemistry, right? 2 degrees in chemistry, so the ability to simplify things, right? As a pretend thought leader, Q has struggled to keep a straight face while posing for this picture. But as an entrepreneur who has started multiple businesses, she sacrificed for the significance of a power pose and a good first impression, right? So again, Olga, I know you talked her into that whole power pose position.
Yes.
Yes, I know. I just know it already.
For sure. She did not. We asked her to smile and she said no, but she forced herself a little bit.
I wish I could have been at that photo shoot. I really, really do. God,
it was fun, yeah.
Q's natural abilities include seeing the science in entrepreneurship and the entrepreneurship in science. That's a cool phrase. I've never read that before. Never seen that. She has an MBA from MIT and a PhD in chemistry from the University of Florida. So. Wow. And she has since vowed to never get another advanced degree. She's no more advanced degrees. So again, I just want to say welcome to the show, and let's start with my sponsor. Let's do that. So my sponsor, and the best way I want to do that is to actually throw up this slideshow again, and we're going to go to the second slide. So Executive Launch is the sponsor, and they're wrapping up this week. Will be the last week of their run on the show, and until I get them re-signed. And basically, Executive Launch is dedicated to helping executives in companies who have spent, usually at least a decade or more, rising the ranks in their industry and in their company, learning the ins and outs of their business, finding all the problems within their industry, and ultimately have ambitions to do more, to create their own startup, create their own future and destiny. And so Executive Launch helps those executives put a plan together and teach them the startup game, helps them put everything together they need to be a startup founder, which, as you guys know, is very different than being a corporate executive, right?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, right? It's a whole nother world. And so executives of bigger companies really have no way of knowing the challenges that are going to be involved with a startup, and so that's what Executive Launch does. Okay, all right. So with that, I want to just head back over to you guys, and Olga. So you founded the Underdog, and I got to ask you right off the top, because I didn't ask you before. Like, where did the name the Underdog come from?
Yeah, great. I was looking for something that's very descriptive. I actually started because I thought that nobody took advantage of copywriting in a really, really good way, no marketing agencies before. And I thought that the name has to reflect that. And the Underdog, first of all, represented me in a way because I was just starting, but it actually translated onto my clients, because if you're the underdog and you're looking for strategic help or marketing help, you kind of can identify yourself with the name. So that's how the name came. And I liked it. Actually, it's interesting that it's a very American way, I would say, English
Yes.
word.
Yeah.
Because if I have to translate it to Russian, let's say if I go back home, there is no word for it. I have to explain that there's two teams and theme, right? Q. So I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I still don't know why there is a dog in it. So hence there was a cat. And again, for the logo, I thought it was a funny pun, but at the same time, what it meant is that a lot of people think of marketing backwards. They start with communications and very focused on communications without solid strategic approach. Or they think that marketing is a logo or a website.
Yeah.
So that kind of was my thinking. And when people ask me, I like explaining that, but most of them actually kind of get it, because they always ask me, is it because it's backwards? So I like that.
To me, first of all, I want to comment on that. So marketing isn't a logo or website. It's kind of an attitude, right? And I feel like that's what you captured. That's the attitude. The Underdog is really about the attitude of things, right? I don't mean that in a cocky way. I mean that in a, what do you stand for? What is your purpose? And the Underdog is like clearly states that without any ambiguity. And that's the other thing I wanted to say is that, wow, how did you, a recovering communist from Ukraine, how did you pick? I mean, you can't answer this question, but I just want to tell you that you did a great job picking that name, because you could have very well picked something that wouldn't have resonated with the average American, but you did. You picked something that actually connects with me personally, and I don't know how you did that, being not growing up in America.
I had to say that when I tested the name among my friends and somebody, not a single person told me that they liked it. Not a single person. And I had to just believe that was my vision and do it. It was quite painful, I have to say.
I love. See, our pre-call interview was obviously way off the base. I didn't get to ask any of this stuff. I love that part of your story because it's so interesting. There's a time when friends and family are totally the right people to talk to about something to get you dialed in. And there's other times when your friends and family are the absolute wrong people to talk to about getting something dialed in. And this was a case where your instinct was correct. You had the vision, and that's the other piece, that your friends and family can't have the vision for what you were trying to create. They just can't. They want to, they love you, they're trying, they care about you, but they can't truly have your vision that's in your mind. And so you knew what you wanted to do and what you wanted to provide, and you knew the Underdog fit that, and you stayed with that vision, right? And despite the negative feedback.
Yes, it was not easy, but then I thought, if I think that I know what I'm doing, I have to do it my way, like that.
I love this. I love it. I love. You know why I love this? Because there's a whole philosophy out there that I don't love, which is, only give customers what they ask for, only give them what they say they want, only give the market and there's a certain amount of truth to that. You can't get too far off the rails. You have to stay tied to our audience and your market. But two problems. Number one, people don't always know what they want. They know it when they see it. A lot of times, right? Mm-hmm. They know it when they see it. And number two, right? Like, if you are in that camp all the time, you're never going to create anything unique or original if you're always just trying to satisfy other people, right? So
absolutely.
So am I hitting the home with you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes. And I started with my own marketing campaign. I would say I didn't call it campaign, but marketing my agency pretty strongly as well, because I realized that there is really no turn back. You either come out strong and do it or not.
Yes. So I want to tell you, I think you nailed it, and I mean that. I really, really mean that. You nailed it with your brand and everything that you're doing, and I'm so glad that you didn't listen to a lot of people. You stayed true to your vision of what you were doing, and I think, and the other thing I was going to say is, in today's world, you have to find your tribe, you have to find your followers, right? So your friends and family weren't your target. Your target was a whole nother sector that you had to stay true so you could attract your tribe, right? The people that would resonate with you. So Q, I've got a question for you. Why the heck would you join such a radical, I don't know. I mean, you're like a scientist, and I know you have an MBA and you got a business degree and all that, but Olga is kind of she's got the like, she's controversially with the edge. Like, why would a scientist want to partner up with someone who's got so much spark? I don't know.
Maybe because she's something that she has a lot of stuff that I don't have. So I think we complement each other very well, and also we have very common background. Being both of us recovering communists, but two different personalities. Yeah.
So you just said something really important, this idea of partnering with people that have the opposite strengths of you. We talk about it all the time in entrepreneurship. It is the being able to find someone that is somewhat the opposite of yourself to make the team better, right? Did you know that immediately? That is something that you wanted to do? Because we're going to get into your backstory in a minute. You were involved in a lot of different projects and startups before you met Olga. Did you feel like that, hey, I've tried a lot of things. I think now I'm going to actually partner with someone who is a complete, opposite balance to me, right? Did that strike you?
Yes, that one thing that, it's complementing me. I did have a co-founder before, which were different than me. I really like Olga, we met, by chance to a startup challenge. I think it was in Gainesville. And after that, we started to talk to each other. I started to look into the Underdog, and I really like, the message, what she was putting up there. And also, I like her, and I do know, immigrants, entrepreneurs, they work really hard, So I think she was, the perfect match, so to speak.
Yeah. Got it. So, that's great. I think that's a piece of the story that I wanted to know is and I would imagine, Olga, for you, here's a scientist type person with that, could really balance out your skills and talent, right? Olga?
Absolutely. I was actually on a lookout for a partner. Every time I would have a business meeting, I would always think about, would that person fit? Would that? For some reason, I don't know why. In my mind, my business partner would be a male. I don't know why. Maybe because I thought about technical people, and there's more men in technology or any kind of technical profession. So for some reason, I thought it would be men. So when I met Q, I almost couldn't believe it. I was like, man, this is crazy. This is great. We get along well. You need to be friends to also be in business and get along very well. We understand each other. We have similar sense of humor because of our backgrounds. We both have Alabama accents, so it kind of worked out very well. So I was almost, I was very happy because I thought that I was asking the universe, and the universe sent me Q. So finally it worked.
And she was not a man.
Exactly. I mean, what can you ask for any better?
No, it's great. I really excited to know you, and I'm looking for you're up in Gainesville, Florida, in the University of Florida area, and I'm excited because I feel like I'm introducing you to the Tampa Bay market right now, and I'm super excited about that because Tampa Bay could use Olga and Q, could use the Underdog, I think, in our ecosystem. So that's really exciting. Without I don't want to bore people too much. I've been sharing the screen. They can read this. This is what the Underdog provides. But I want to mention just briefly this blog that people have to read, which is one of the most. Your blog is one of the more fun blogs out there, and every article makes me literally laugh out loud, and I love the honesty and the edginess of it all. And then Q, ultimately, you wrote a blog here about Agro-tech, right? Which became the impetus for the blue orange accelerator, Ag-tech accelerator that you and Olga created together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is when Q joined. We changed up the positioning of the Underdog, and we do have marketing as part of our services, but for the most part, it's product commercialization, and we work with people that want to, start innovative companies. And Q had brilliant idea that when she actually voiced it to me for the first time, I thought that it was crazy good idea to do that. So she did the hypotheses, she put together all the data like a real scientist, and then on top of it, polished it with business attitude. And that what came to life. And I think from here, Q can explain more.
Yeah, Q, tell us about the blue orange Agro-tech accelerator.
Well, so I moved to Gainesville. I moved back to Gainesville in like 15 months ago. And I was looking to understand, the startup ecosystem here, locally. And I couldn't put a finger on anything, like on any industry or specialization. Is it a tech? Is it going to become a tech hub? Or what type of tech? Or what type of industry? Biotech? There is there are quite a few biotech companies, and but on the other hand, all the cities in the United States, they say they are in the top 3 biotech hubs. So, I was thinking, okay, so what is the competitive advantage of the area? So actually a competitive advantage measures the strength and the challenges of the area, and based on that, you actually, people in the area can build an innovation ecosystem. And, you look at the economic indicator factors, you look at the assets of the talent, and also the challenges of the area. And based on this analysis, with all the assets that they are around at the University of Florida, especially the Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences. So that it should be the area focused on agro-tech. And that's why, of course, like any other area, there is a lack of investment here. And usually the initial investment is coming from accelerators. And that's why we decided to start an accelerator in this area, basically to recruit companies from outside of Gainesville to come here and to put them in connection with the university scientists, with the farmers around, and to build their companies here.
Got it. That makes sense. And so you guys, this Blue Orange Accelerator got delayed though. Just you were launching it when the COVID-19 happened. Is that right?
Yes, and I mean, it's hard. We were just starting to look for investment, for the accelerator, which is hard even in the good times to raise money for an accelerator, not for just a startup. These things came and it slows us down a lot. I mean, you could see, I just read an article that the investment was down down 43% in April for startups. So we will see. I mean, we are still, talking with startups. And the problem is that what is hard to do is to connect with investors. Once you connect, you have to do it face to face. it's hard to get investment by email. So that is, really got us a little bit down.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's very hard. So, Olga, you were speak to this. Were you in the process of getting the capital raise started for Blue Orange Accelerator?
Yeah, we launched the brand. We started fundraising since January. We started connecting with startups. We connected with FIBA in Tampa, had a very good relationship with that accelerator. I met with Tampa Bay Wave, enjoyed that, I've been to their demo days. And basically, at the moment, we wanted to, we put together an application for the startups right when this whole thing started. And right now, we don't want to bring, first of all, I don't think we would be even able to bring any startups to Gainesville because they have to be physically here for 3 months. And we just don't see that happening this year. And we don't want to do a virtual because that's not a virtual experience, really. If it is a virtual experience, if we could do a little pre-accelerator or something, we were thinking about it, but then it's not exactly the accelerator model that we want to implement because there's very many different models. And even the accelerator in Tampa is very different than what we want to do because ours is for profit. And it's not a nonprofit, so it's different structurally.
Yeah, so you guys would take some equity with the companies that are accelerated, right? That's a classic approach. I can't wait for you to restart this and for us to help each other get that restarted. I think it's great, and we can't fail to mention that I'm a University of Florida graduate too, so we're all in the family. Right. So we have to help each other. So okay.
Since you're from UF, I have to say that a lot of people in Gainesville can't quite memorize blue orange. They always think that it's orange and blue orange, and it's only in Gainesville. People outside, they're like, oh, blue orange, it makes sense.
Good for you with leading with the word blue instead of orange, because if you'd done orange blue, it would have been just for Gator fans. It wouldn't have been.
Oh, for sure.
Very good. So Olga, let's talk about your background, okay? So I printed this out.
Yeah.
So born and raised in Ukraine, and I'm just fascinated by that, by the way, just first and foremost. And you grew up on a farm. You grew up on a farm in Ukraine where you grew the family grew the food right there that you ate, right, all together, right? So how does someone go from farm girl, right, to a master's degree in linguistics? And then, so how do you, was it always a thing that you were supposed to do as a kid, go to college and get that degree?
Yeah, I think so. My parents don't have higher educations, but my mom was always encouraging about getting a degree because maybe it was at some point her own aspiration. She never got to do it. And I was a good kid. I was studying. I was playing the piano. Nothing really special, just a good student. And with the university, actually, it was kind of interesting. I didn't want to go to do literature and linguistics. I actually wanted to do mathematics. And I was prepared to do it. I was on a path to do it. Yet, for some reason, when I came to apply, I picked a completely different thing. And I don't know why I did it anyways. But at that point, the USSR already collapsed and it was total chaos. And if you wanted to have I would say the more advanced or sexy degrees, like economics, finance, you had to pay. We had to actually bribe people to get in. But if you want to go and study something like linguistics and literature, I could qualify and study there for free, and I didn't have to pay for my education. So that basically, that's what I had to do. My parents couldn't afford to pay for education or for bribes or anything like that. So that's basically what happened.
Wow. So wow, that's quite eye-opening to hear about the fact that the best degrees were only available for those who could bribe.
Yes. Unless your parents work as professors, then you're going to go there, or you have a lot of money. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. So that's what's amazing about your story. And from there, you became a teacher, but ultimately you were teaching English to business people, and you were fundamentally helping Ukrainian business men and women, like Ukrainian business people, do business with America. And you were like the person that was helping them translate. Is that right?
Yeah, this is correct. I enjoyed doing that. I think I learned a lot from that. And in fact, I never realized it, but at the age 20, you basically put into a power position, so to speak, when you're in front of the audience of executives, and you're teaching them. Makes you feel a little bit, you kind of understand that you are in charge for at least that hour.
Yeah.
So I was very motivated to improve my English and get better techniques, prepare people for different exams. And commercially, it was very, very good. I made a lot of money. I enjoyed it. But I also learned very good presentation skills. I learned how to be in front of the audience, and I knew my material very well. And I knew that when I know the material and when I'm confident in what I'm saying, I sound and present very well. So that was the key for me to understand how presenting skills work.
Right. And so you got to see some of the best business people operate, right?
Absolutely.
And you also were in a respectful position because you were translating. So you kind of had a front row seat, if you will, to business, right? You had a front row seat to business, right? These are $1 million type situations, right?
Yeah.
But you told me when we talked before, at some point you felt like, okay, this is great, but I want to be known. I want to be known and respected for more than just being the interpreter. And you crave to be more substantive and respected in that. So what was the next big move for you?
Yeah, that I felt like I could do way more. I just felt that I can do way more. That's how I felt. I think it's great. Whenever anybody who's listening, if you feel like you can do more, it's not just a feeling. You really have to go and do more.
That's right.
So I decided to go to Oxford to take I think it was 4 business courses during summer and see if I like it and how it is. I've been to the UK before, but I have not been to a college town. So I went to Oxford. I took business classes. I thought that it was eye-opening. I loved the professors. I loved the subject. I love the international students around from everywhere, from Ghana, from Mexico, from all over the world. And when I moved back, I thought, I think I'm done being an English teacher. And the following week, I moved out to the capital of Ukraine, to Kiev, where I had my best friend who lived there. So I kind of had a support for a month while I settled. So that was basically why I moved there, to start my career. Had my friend, was a little scary, but second time it wasn't scary anymore. When I moved to US, it was like.
Right. And you, okay. And that's where you met your husband today, right? And he was based in University of Florida, but he was traveling the world, and he happened to be on assignment in Kiev, and you guys you fell in love and decided to be married and a couple. And so you had the opportunity to go back with him and start a new life in America, in Gainesville, right?
Yeah, again, moved here and didn't know a single person. You just starting over again, and then my advantage of speaking English or teaching English was taken away. Yeah. And I still want to be in the position where I can explain or tell what to do and how, and I can't. So that basically, I decided that I need to go and get a degree here. And usually in the United States, even if you have an advanced degree, Q knows that as well, the United States likes when people have degrees from American universities. Yeah. So therefore, a lot of immigrants, when they move here, even if they have doctorates, if they're scientists, if engineers, they have to typically start over with doing the degree again. Well, I didn't do it over again, but I had an opportunity to go and get an MBA from University of Florida, and I loved it.
Yeah. And then you got an opportunity to go be an investment banker in Miami, right?
Yeah, I had my internship there. I enjoyed wealth management. I loved working as a portfolio manager because there was a lot of analytics to it. There was a lot of research, and I decided that this is what I wanted to do until my babies were very young, and for family reasons, basically, we decided not to move at that moment after I graduated.
Got it. Okay, so just to fast forward the story, you decided to stay in Gainesville, not to take the job in Miami as an investment banker. You came back to Gainesville to be with to raise your family and so forth. But then, I think you worked at University of Florida for a brief period, but you were itching to do something more impactful and more aligned with your potential as a person. You have a lot of views and opinions and a lot of perspectives on things, and you were just like itching to like get out and do something for yourself. And so you created the Underdog.
Yeah.
And that must have been exciting because you were going to leave your job to go do this, right? And meanwhile, everybody told you that everybody said the name was wrong, but that didn't help.
No, nobody could understand what I'm doing. Is it a PR agency, or are you going to be a logo designer, or what is that? Yeah. So I think that at this moment, when I started researching and studying copywriting really, really hard, and I love it because copywriters at the beginning of the 20th century, they were actually strategists. They were business strategists. They were not just people putting words together like now. Now this profession is not respected as well and doesn't really exist anymore because communications they're overriding everything. And I realized that my skill, actually, the linguistics that I studied and literature, it's very handy. And even though I did it in a different language, still I understand the construction of words and what makes a difference and how it works. So I loved it. And when I looked at competition around, I thought, well, if that is the competition, really, then in my mind, it's very easy.
You're going to be okay, right?
Yeah.
This is good. So I love the competitive, and we're going to come back to this. So Olga, bottom line, I can see this. You're a very competitive person. You told me first time I talked to you, you said, Alan, I'm a type A person. You love to be organized. You love to stay on point. You're very competitive. You like to.
This is type A according to this book.
Thank you. Hey.
I have to say, so Quit to Start book is for people who would want to be entrepreneurs or want to learn what it's like or get a little bit of understanding what you have to go through. And there is a little test at the beginning. It's not a test, but it's an explanation of different types of entrepreneurs. And I actually like type B better, Alan. I wish I was type B because it's more calculated. It's people that already they're prepared.
That's you.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, once she reads it, I want to ask her what she is. Right. So, yeah, it really spoke to me. So I do recommend this. This is a new book. It came out just this year, right?
February, right before the
okay. Yeah. So
Olga,
folks, check it out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad I connected with you, and you were type. I talk about the type A entrepreneur, the type B, and the type C, and you're definitely the type A, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that I love that spirit, and frankly, I think that's kind of intertwined a bit with the immigrant mindset too, of just taking nothing for granted and knowing that it's that there's a path to win with your own talent and your own ambition, right? Where maybe that wasn't the case in the communist Russia situation, right? You literally are in your own. Before we go to Q's story, I want to get your comment on that. Like, how would you describe that, the immigrant entrepreneur mindset?
Yeah, nothing is a given. Absolutely. And especially when you are an adult and you move to a new country, you have to start over. And here, what's important to understand is that everything is, you're gonna have to use your skill to reach something. It's not the fluff. It's not, just do something halfway. American market is very competitive. It's way more competitive anywhere than anywhere else in any field you take. So you have to have the skill. And immigrant entrepreneurs, when they move here, they know that. So they're prepared for that.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel. I'm sure Q has the same. I mean, she has advanced degrees, and so that is that what separates.
Yeah, I get it, and I love it. I think it's great. And so, Q, let's get into your story a little bit. So, thank you, Olga, for that background. I can't wait to swing back, and we're gonna bring this back a little later and talk about immigrant entrepreneurs and why they're so successful. Q, you grew up in communist Romania, right? And one of the oldest European nations, but the lack of a lot of Western things were missing there, right? But they didn't take away from your freedom to dream and your freedom to be creative, right? And so you love Romania. I wrote that in my notes here, but there was always kind of a lack of jobs and opportunity. That was always the case, and so you love home, but ultimately you decided to go to America to pursue the rest of your education and your career, right? So maybe pick it up there. What was it like growing up in Romania? That would be my first question, Q. Like, what was it like? How would you describe it?
Well, I was happy. I was very happy. We didn't have, a lot of things, but when you don't know what it's possible, you are very happy with what you have. So it's in Romania, it's very, very few people get to have a college degree. I mean, during the communistic time, not now. So you really have to work and to study a lot to get accepted into university. So I studied throughout my high school years to get into university in chemical engineering. Actually, I chose chemistry. I always wanted to work in cosmetic industry. Since I was little, I always, I was mixing stuff with my mother, and I always wanted to work. That's why I chose chemistry. And also, it was a challenge for myself that, hey, I can get into university. So, unfortunately, I graduated right after the communism was down. And, the chemical industry was pretty much non-existent. Nothing was, country in transition, no jobs for anybody. So when I decided, actually, I never thought of coming to United States, but I had a colleague from university, and he told me, well, why not come to US and do like a PhD degree? I said, okay, let's do it. It's not that I ever wanted to be a rocket scientist. I never thought myself with a PhD degree, but that was the way to leave the country. And I decided to leave because I was very mad that, all this year I studied so long, and it was nothing for me, at the end of like 20 years of, working very hard, you have nothing. So that's why I decided to move. And my colleague was already a student at Yale, so I applied only at University of Florida. I didn't even know that actually you can apply, you can do research to apply to different universities, but I applied only to Yale. I immediately got accepted. Compared with Olga, I had no knowledge of English. So in Romania, I studied French and German. And when I decided to come to US, they asked me, hey, you have to pass 2 tests, like TOEFL and GRE for grad school. I said, okay, so let's start learning English. So I did that for 6 months. I passed those tests and I came here. I had really high with the language. In the first year, I almost gave up. I wanted to go because you have to pass some spoken English test if you are a PhD student, because you have to teach undergrad. So I had really hard time because of the language, but finally I passed those, and this is how I end up in Gainesville. Initially, I hated Gainesville. It was completely opposite from Bucharest. I mean, Bucharest is a huge, capital of Romania. It's like New York City, and I came to Gainesville, and I said, "What is this?" But in time, I started to like it. I definitely love the weather. In Romania, we have 4 seasons. Winter's very harsh. But, after graduating, I moved to Pittsburgh. The reason I moved to Pittsburgh is because I met my husband meanwhile, and he was having a job in Pittsburgh, and that's why I moved to Pittsburgh. I had a very short postdoc position at Carnegie-Mellon, and after that, I got hired by a startup. Like nanotech startup is actually exactly in my field, what I was studying at UF. And I was chief scientist there. I started the lab. I hired people. It was amazing. This is really got me into entrepreneurship because, we were a very small team. The management team was in Buffalo, New York. They let us, a lot of freedom in terms of marketing, business development, talking with customers. And after that, unfortunately, the company shut down in 2010, which that really gave me an opportunity to something by myself. And it was about time also. I mean, we'll talk about more about immigrants, entrepreneurs, but as a foreign-born graduate student in the United States, even though you really want to start a company based on your research, you cannot. Theoretically, you can. You have only 1 year, but we don't take that risk. So nobody's starting a company just for 1 year. So you actually, until your visas are straightened up, you have to, work for somebody else. And that was somebody else was this company, which throughout, I could do, my visa issue, I could settle them. And after that, I worked, I started consulting companies, biotech companies with licensing from Carnegie-Mellon. The last company in Pittsburgh was on beauty tech. It was data analytics for healthcare products. Actually, I started to get into what I really wanted, like more the cosmetics area. I decided to move to Gainesville back like 15 months ago.
By the way, are you there? Q, you still there? A little bit choppy.
Yeah.
Are you there? We heard we heard you okay. We've got a comment on Facebook Live. Our friend Maria Laricella, she goes, she's Russians and Romanians are some of the smartest people she knows, loves working with them on all of her projects. And yeah, and I've had the same. I've development working with software development teams over my career. I worked with a Romanian software development team, and it was just the best experience ever. Just so much attention to detail and so much clarity about the project. But Q, so in Pittsburgh, you were the chief scientist for a company.
Yes.
And then you were the director of innovation for a company, and one of those was a startup. Which one was it? Was it the 113 Industries? Was that the?
Yes. We started that company together with. So I met, by chance, 2 entrepreneurs in Pittsburgh and immigrants as well, actually, and we got together to start a company. And interesting enough, we wanted to start material science incubators. Incubator initially to license technologies from universities and to do that.
Well, when you guys come back to Tampa, which I know will be soon, I've got somebody I really want to introduce you to, who is a big Pittsburgh. He's from Pittsburgh, and he's also a very successful business owner and entrepreneur and angel investor. And he in Carnegie-Mellon, he's a big fan of Carnegie-Mellon and he's and you will need to know he's one of the nicest men in the city. And he loves to help people. In fact, he was my last guest speaker in my class right before the COVID shutdown. He was my last guest speaker. So I posted that on LinkedIn, but he's been a friend for so many years. He's such a good person. So I can't wait for you guys to come down. We're going to meet him. His name is Rich.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, yeah, it'll be great.
Okay.
So, okay.
Thank you.
So Q, you're back in Gainesville. And you bump into Olga and you guys immediately hit it off, and you actually didn't meet Q. You had to go back and do some homework just to see see if you wanted to like, who is this Olga girl and what is she doing? What's the Underdog all about? But after you did your homework and you guys met some more, you're together. Okay, so you built a great company. We covered that earlier. Olga, is there anything you want to add to Q's story there in terms of when you met her and what your take on Q is?
Well, I think that her story is quite, it's of course unique, but it's also typical for a lot of people that were in post-Soviet or other countries, Eastern European, frustrated with the fact that the hard work doesn't pay off. No matter how much you work, it's only that much that you get paid for, and that basically pushes them to search for countries like the United States. And we love our countries. We have a lot of emotional attachment to our countries. But the entrepreneur inside of you always tries to challenge, do you want to stay or do you want to go? So I think that touches up upon this subject of immigrant entrepreneurs. And that's why America is very lucky having a lot of entrepreneurs that are immigrants and that start companies and they're trying and they're failing, they're restarting, they're not afraid to just do it. In fact, 3 months ago, when was last Synapse, and I was in Tampa with my very good friend, Pablo Casolimas from Gainesville. We were walking between sessions, walking there at Synapse, and then we hear somebody's presenting, and the person is speaking. I don't know whether he was from India or I don't know which country, but it was an accent, was a heavy accent. And my friend said, this is exactly when you know that this is something good, that it's something worth listening.
I agree.
I thought it was interesting, which I didn't pay attention to that, but this is exactly my thought. If I hear somebody speaking with an accent at some presentation, you really want to listen to it carefully because you think it's some scientist or an engineer,
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. There's something about the immigrant entrepreneur or immigrants in general that they don't have a lot of time to waste. They are used to having to do a lot with very little. They know that they will either swim or be eaten. Like, how competitive it is. So you're forced to pick the right things, focus on the right things, survive, get ahead, beat the competition. I mean, this is the way the immigrant has to approach America, right? Whereas American kids, we grow up and we kind of just get a little comfortable, right? We just get a little comfortable because it's all around us, right? This is a big deal in entrepreneurship.
Yep. For sure. Yeah. Once you get comfortable, and as an entrepreneur, there is always some pressure. I don't think an entrepreneur is relaxed. There is always pressure with the building the company. What's the next stage? Then what's after that? And what's after that? You can never be relaxed. So that is the mode that we kind of used to. We were raised like that. So that's why entrepreneurship, maybe for some of us, are more natural. It comes easier.
Yeah. Yes, and I also think about the why, right? That we talk about it in my book, and almost every entrepreneurship book talks about the why, right? Because ultimately what makes anybody successful in anything in life is the why, right? Like what's deep down, why are you doing this? What is driving you? Why do you have to succeed? Why do you have to do this so great? What's inside? It's very deep, it's very personal. And I would find that a lot of times with immigrant entrepreneurs that they have to a couple things. One, they have to capitalize on the opportunity. Like it's like being given a gift. I hate to say that, but it's like being given a gift and then not doing anything with it. So if you're an immigrant entrepreneur and you don't make good on the gift, it feels like failure. I'm just going to throw that out there. Is there any truth to that?
Well, actually, Q and we've discussed the why concept quite a bit, and we have our own, which we prefer to be more like towards the word how. How?
Okay.
Why, we know why, but what about how? And do it.
Let's hear it. I want to hear that.
So that basically means, okay, now we know why we want to do it. But now the question is how? Okay, day one. How are you going to approach that? Do you have the right skill? Do you have the resources? Do you have the effort and the amount of stamina to do it every day, day to day, and week and months and year? So we're more focused on doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the why has settled long ago. We know what it is.
My point was that just generally, aside from, for sure, you and Q are in the business of helping people with their how, and you're into your how. I was just pointing to the fact that what drives an immigrant entrepreneur generally is their why. What drives them to do, and then they got to figure out the how, right?
Right. Yeah. Yes.
And you guys have but I was just, before we get into the how, you guys have a why, right? So I just am reading this off of you, Olga, and even you, Q, but like you're driven to be successful. Like you won't stop until you get it. Am I right about that?
I mean, I hope so. The thing is, I prefer to keep the athlete mentality, and you never focus on the outcome in terms of while you're doing it. And the successful outcome is a given. That's what we want. But while we get to it, we will have failures here and there. So actually focusing on everyday effort and good work and the research and what we need to do, this is the most important thing. Just do your job every day. Don't slack. Don't wait. Nobody else is going to do it for you. And then the result will come. It will.
Got it. Q, what would you add to that?
I was thinking that, foreign-born entrepreneurs, everybody's saying they are entrepreneurial by nature, and, they are more risk tolerant than the US-born entrepreneurs. And maybe that's true, but also what I do believe that immigrants entrepreneurs take more calculated risk. And by that, I mean that, we have a higher self-perceivability than US-born entrepreneurs. I think we do know exactly which are our advantages, which are our strengths and weaknesses. And, when you take the risk in that area where you have those advantages. So I think that's why immigrants entrepreneurs are more successful.
Yeah. So do you think it's that, again, back what I said earlier, like you can't afford a lot of mistakes.
You cannot afford. Yes, you cannot afford to. We think of a degree of failure, right? Okay, the failures are different, right? You fail, you shut down a company, but what we think that, okay, what is the worst thing that I can afford, And this is, once I know that, okay, it's okay to go through. But it's we mitigate all these risks through preparations, and what I want to say is that
you can definitely prepare yourself. You can definitely an immigrant entrepreneur knows that preparation is going to be critical to be successful, right? Like
yes,
and
yes.
You can't like just be willy-nilly and be inefficient.
Yes. And I was always thinking about when you start a company like a startup, a tech startup, that everybody is talking about the first round of friends and family. That is not available for immigrants. We left our families and friends at home. So it's always, to me, it's very weird when first round of friends and family. So
ask your husband.
Friends and family, your husband.
Yeah.
That means that means your own money. That really means your own. Like nobody's looking.
Yes.
You don't have that first circle of people with money because all your friends are, like you said, immigrant Americans. They don't have money either, and so like it's you've actually got to produce something of such high value that actual investors come in and want to be a part of it. You don't have the option of circling up friends and family money while you dabble or experiment.
Yes. I mean, you start with your own money. We are not used to go outside and ask for money, for capital. I mean, this is completely, in US, which I found out. In Romania, everybody's like using their own savings to start companies. Here, it's completely different, mentality. You get paid using somebody else's money.
Yeah. And you're right. That's a bit of a privilege, right? It's a bit of a home, like a native resident, a privilege, right? Like that's something that's
home
very
advantage.
Yeah, an advantage. Thank you, an advantage.
Home advantage, like for the underdogs, home advantage.
I like it. See, that's another point, right? Like knowing that you're not going to have any help and there's going to be no advantages. That's very negative, but isn't that powerful too? Like it forces you to get really focused and really correct and really, right? Like, isn't this a negative that's a strength?
It's very liberating, very liberating.
Yeah.
You feel great when you do it. Yes.
No, really. Yeah, I get it. I totally get it because, all of there's so many great entrepreneurs and authors talk about, Damon talks about the power. His number one selling book is The Power of Broke, right? That being broke is a very powerful place, from Shark Tank, right? And I've also I follow a lot of authors and writers on this. One of the wealthiest people I know talked about his best. The Rich Dad Poor Dad author talked about how he prefers to start everything with no money. Like having no money is powerful. It forces you to be creative. It forces you to focus. It forces you to solve problems. It forces you to get to the heart of the matter, right? And not that you're so like this is a strength. This is a strength.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, for example, when going back to your background and how you grew up, my parents were growing everything because things were not available. And with very little, they were so creative with how they would use the garden, how they would even cook. Everything we were growing was used. There was no things that you throw away. There is always a dish for something that you can cook. And think about it, it is creativity, and you live like this is your life, you live in it, and you take it for granted, but in reality, it is how you build your creative muscle.
Yeah. And ultimately isn't that really the essence of entrepreneurship? Anything that you create or start has to be on solid ground and has to be, it cannot have excess or waste in it. It needs to be refined and to work, right? And so this plays right in. So this lack of resources and lack of resources for, by the way, not just immigrant entrepreneurs, but we find that even young people who grew up in America and say poverty also disproportionately become successful entrepreneurs, right? Because again, they're used to solving problems, figuring things out, getting more done with very little, and ultimately too surviving too. The other piece of this is survival, isn't it? Because it doesn't come easy, and so it's a long race, right?
You know what's interesting? Well, I mean, we can compare COVID-19 to poverty, but yet it is a really hard time for a lot of businesses, and it will be very good and interesting test to see whether there is going to come out a lot of new innovative companies after this time. Because a lot of people right now are in the situation where they have to think and be prepared to change things up. So would be an interesting test to see whether there's going to be a lot of new innovative things coming out.
Yes, and but not only new companies, but also the ones that can survive this, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so absolutely.
The ones that can survive, and then the new ones that get created. This situation is going to have a way of really redefining the businesses going forward. Okay, so what else do you guys want to talk about regarding immigrant entrepreneurs? What else do you have in your mind that you want to put out there that we haven't said yet?
Well, I would say that in my country, entrepreneurship was not a respectable thing, and it was discouraged, and it was considered nobody would do that. Actually, my parents didn't like the fact that I had entrepreneurial ideas. I was trying to do something that I wouldn't go and take on a job. So in a lot of Eastern European countries, the idea was culturally that after you go to school, you take on a job. In fact, that came from Soviet times, where Soviet times it was like this. You go, you get your degree, and then the government decides where your job is going to be.
Okay.
And they decide in which city. So you get your degree and you can relocate, you don't know where. So if you don't take on a job, you don't know how to keep a job. You don't know how to keep work ethics. And entrepreneurship wasn't known in the USSR. And so it wasn't in Romania, right, Q?
Q as well, you would agree? Hey, Q, you would agree that that entrepreneurship was not a thing in Romania as well?
No, didn't exist entrepreneurship. Everything was state. Didn't have. Olga is younger than me, but so I graduated, in 1990, right after the communism was down. So I grew up with, not knowing actually what entrepreneurship is. Yeah. And after that, yes, it was seen the same. Pretty much the entrepreneurs in Romania were the, like trade people. You would get clothing from Turkey and bring them in Romania and sell them. Those were the first entrepreneurs in Romania.
Right.
But yeah.
But Olga, you explained to me that that it was frowned upon because you were taking too many chances with your future, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because if you played by the rules and got your book stamped, so to speak, you would have a nice retirement and you would have everything set aside for you when you were older.
Yep.
And so why would you mess with, why would you take a chance with that is basically the mindset, right?
Right. As a young person, as a young professional, of course you're scared. You listen to what your parents are telling you or other mentors, and you think, yeah, I probably should. So I did feel the same way. I thought I need to get a job. I need to stop thinking about all those entrepreneurial things and get a job, because for the future, it will pay off. But communism has been there for 17 years before it collapsed. So it framed the mindset of people in a way that the country will take care of people when they're in their 60s. They'll have their pension, but they have to put in this 40, 50 years of work. And once that collapsed, and we looked at the United States of America, Europe, and we're like, oh, wait a minute, but those people are doing different things and they have some flexibility. Still, the mindset remained there. And it's people that are in their 60s and 70s, like my parents, they still have communism mindset.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but a lot of them.
So the trade-off there is that you don't get to do meaningful work for yourself. You don't get to do things that are meaningful, purposeful.
Self-expression was killed. You were dressed as everybody else. There were only 3 colors in the store: gray, brown, and black. And you wore uniforms. Everything was the same. Self-expression was not allowed, and it was not good. No.
And you weren't rewarded for your self-talent. The people that excelled, that were advanced, were probably promoted for political reasons, not for skill or talent a lot of times.
They would give you a medal, literally, or a trophy, but there was no monetary compensation. You would never get. Basically, there was no reason to work hard. You can be the best at what you do. You can be the best pianist. You can be the best scientist. They can give you some, a medal, literally, and that's it.
Wow. And so how often do you guys visit back? How often do you get to go back and visit?
Well, I haven't been since 2010. At the moment, there is a war in my hometown that's been there for 5 years, 6 years now, and still unclear when it's going to be over. Mm-hmm. And Q, where were you last time?
2 years ago. 2 years ago. Usually, I want to go once per year, but from now on, I'll go like less and less. Yeah. But yeah.
So here's my last question for you guys is, okay, so when it comes to you as a team, Olga, how would you describe what makes you and Q special, and what makes the Underdog special, and what do you guys bring to the table for your clients that you don't think anybody else really can bring the way you bring?
I think that our words are always researched. I know that if I ask you a question, or if she tells me something, I know she already researched everything. It's not the first lines she read somewhere. It's not just an opinion. It's already a formed factual statement that she brings it and she says, this is how it is. I like that, because there is always substance to what's going on. When we talk to each other, the way we brief about ideas, we have the same way of describing things, of looking for some sort of association with how we like it or we don't like it. I think we have similar aesthetics also. It's important for marketing, for branding, for products, and we get along. It's great. You need to have chemistry with the chemistry person. We have it.
That's important. That's definitely important. Q, what would you add to that in terms of what makes the Underdog?
Well, in terms of
special,
why we are unique compared with other firms like us is that we, first of all, we are actually educated in those fields, in business and marketing. We do have degrees in this, and we have experience. We offer product commercialization services. That it's something that I did for 10 years, especially working with small companies, with startups. And go-to-market strategy, we also, what Olga didn't mention now, I thought that we work with international companies who wants to bring products in the United States, product market fit, or also what type of strategy to get into U.S. market. And for that, we are the best partners for them because we understand both cultures. In Europe and even in Latin America, Latin American culture is very similar to Romanian culture. So we do understand both cultures.
Here's the other thing that strikes out to me that I think is probably unique, a bit strong with Eastern Europe and where you're from. Tremendous honesty, very direct honesty is what you guys have, and I know that about you, like very direct honesty. and because the Asian culture is not so much that way, and then Western Europe is its own thing. In America, we often don't always say what we really think about things and so forth. I find that when I'm talking with you, and I see that it's true with you and so many other Eastern Europeans I know, very polite and very friendly, but then in the very next sentence, extremely direct and honest. Is this true? I feel this way.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
And I mean that in a good way. Like, you want your marketing, branding person to be honest with you and to tell you tell you what you need to hear.
Yes.
Right?
And so are other instructors, teachers, mentors, anybody. I don't need anybody to sugarcoat me. I need to tell them how I'm going to improve. If I'm there to improve, to make my business better, to sell things, to reach my audience, I don't need to just be nice. I need to be heard. And for that, I need to improve. You only improve when somebody pushes you hard. That's the only way. I know how it works, but maybe there's other ways.
That's right. And you know what is ironic, and please forgive me for saying this, but you see this a lot with men, right? More so. You're both of you are very unique as women. You're very direct, honest, and very assertive with this thing. And I hope you don't take that wrong. And I think that's very powerful, because you have the women's sensibility and the women's all the power of a woman, but being able to be direct and honest in that way, I think is just really, that's what attracted me to what you guys were doing. I think that's what really separates you from so many other players, right? And do you feel that's true for you?
Yeah, I think so. I think confidence comes, first of all, from knowing that you put in a lot of work, research, studying, reading, and it makes you feel confident. I know that when I put something out there, I've already researched it. I already brainstormed of how can people challenge me and what I would say for that. So you look at multiple different angles at things. So that does bring you confidence. So I think going along with our personalities, that's what you get, this mix. The formulation, right, Q? How is that in chemistry there?
Yes, I mean, this is what immigrant entrepreneurs do, right? They, this is how they minimize the risk through preparation, because this is what we can do by ourselves and what is in our control, right? You can do that. You don't depend on anybody else to do that.
Yes. And how do you, so I'm just trying to imagine, like, if someone challenges you, I feel like you ladies would be very strong in a challenge, meaning like once you feel like your data is correct and your viewpoint is correct, I feel like you would stand and fight. It's just my assumption. Yeah. Is that true?
I will for sure. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I'm ultra competitive, and the reason. That's why you study strategy, real strategy. What I mean is real strategy. If you want to be competitive this way, you got to start. Yeah.
I like that. I love that. I'm glad I got to ask you that question about standing and fighting, because we can talk about the entrepreneurial learning curve and the entrepreneurial risk taking and all that stuff. But there comes another level when you get into the game of business and to the real fight of business, right? There is a stand and fight moment, and people that can stand and fight for what they believe in or how they feel about something can be a big, or their data or their research, whatever it is, their perspective, their viewpoint. That's another big test for entrepreneurs or even business people in general. And I feel like that you guys have that backbone, as we like to say in America, right? To stand for that, right? Because people, whether it be a client or a competitor, that will want to discredit or push against you, right? Even a client.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All the time. There is clients that want you to do what they know. This is how they want to do it. And then you're thinking, okay, so you're hiring us to do that, but if you know how to do it, yeah, we will stand behind our point of view, for sure.
I love that.
I like the challenge. I like ambiguity. This is all very good things to work with, because that's where you get the best out of yourself, right? I think.
Yeah.
And if you have a client and then you offer them to call their company the Underdog, how are you gonna tell them to do it if they don't want to?
That's it. Right? Anything else you guys want to say on that topic, or anything else before we kind of wrap up? And I want to wrap up with the question around this COVID-19 and what kind of advice you give, what you're giving to your clients today, and what your thoughts are around that. I know you guys have a startup of your own that you've kind of spawned out of this situation. But before we go there, anything else you want to add, or do you want to just go right into that closing?
I have a question to you, Alan.
Okay.
So I want to ask you about your vision for your courses that you have, and who can participate in that. Who is that for? Is that for students? Everything that you have on your plan, your start.
Yes, thank you for asking. So the class, the USF class, is a closed environment of those students, and I have speakers come, and I can't wait for you guys to come and speak to my class. So I can't wait for that.
Oh, great!
We'll do that in like the fall or the spring, so that's it. That's what it is. And as far as the plan, your start, it's ultimately wanting to help aspiring entrepreneurs. And that's what's kind of behind the scenes on this podcast, even, is people that are in jobs, not, who are dreaming of bigger things, but don't necessarily have the confidence or know the how. You mentioned the how earlier, how they can make the leap and gain the resources and the confidence to do it. So that's what Plan Your Start's dedicated. So this conversation, I think, helps along those lines. But I would say that as I grow, Plan Your Start, and even this podcast is a startup for me. And as I grow it, I want to include all the smart people I know out there, like yourselves, to help me, bring advisors to all these companies. And so, I'm even working on the idea of an accelerator myself. Right?
Ooh, competition.
But like a virtual. Like a virtual accelerator, virtual membership, right? And those companies could get access to experts like you, right? That's something I'm working on right now. Because I can't. I'm one person. I can't do it all. I work with individual clients and so forth, but I much prefer to tap into all the different experiences and people in my network and try to help people. It takes a lot of people to help someone. There's no one mentor, one coach that can be the magic trick for someone. They need a lot of different support help. So that's the best way I can answer. This Plan Your Start is new. I just launched it a few months ago with my book, and so I'm learning as I go. I love your feedback. So I would ask you guys to drop me a note once in a while with ideas or feedback, or it would be a lot of help and it would be appreciated.
Okay.
Okay.
If you can tolerate criticism.
I could do it. I'm counting on it. So, hey, so with that, let's wrap up by asking about what are your thoughts on COVID-19 and what do you want to share before we leave?
Yeah, I'll let Q share that. We have something we're working on.
Okay.
Yes, we, because it was a slow time during this, and we were thinking what to do, and we came up with the idea actually of a startup. It's a consumer product company, and actually it's really a perfect blend between chemistry and marketing, which we are. So I think hopefully we will launch soon. Right now we are in the product development stage and also like marketing, branding, brainstorming, and hopefully we will launch soon.
Good. Well, so no more than three. Three is all you get. You've got the Underdog, you've got the Blue Orange Accelerator, and now this. That's all. No more. No more. No more.
Yeah. So of course, is it too much? It's definitely too much. You cannot focus.
Three is okay.
On all three of them. Yeah, no.
The power of three.
Three is not okay. So we will see. We will see how it goes. So
okay.
Because honestly, I mean, since we started the startup, the company, because I'm doing the product development, I'm pretty much 100% on that. I actually built a lab in my husband's woodworking shop. So I have a chemistry lab.
Was that the video I saw of the water boiling?
Yeah. Well, that is just.
In the Breaking Bad.
Cooking, yeah.
What were you cooking up, Q? What were you cooking? The Breaking Bad.
The formula.
The Breaking Bad action figures also. Well, if anybody out there, just people that need to know, and they're going to watch this video because on our YouTube. You should absolutely follow the Underdog on Facebook and Instagram. You guys post the funniest, most interesting things, and I love following it. And you guys are off to big things. And will we see you at Synapse again, do you think, next year?
I want to go to the digital one, to the virtual one.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Well, good. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for this conversation. Thank you for being a guest on the show. I'm a big fan of both of you, and I look forward to us helping each other. Over the years, right? We're all in it together, right? We're all trying to do big, important things. Not everybody does that right away, right? So it's good that we support each other. Okay.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you. It was great.
Absolutely. Olga, sorry. Q, your video was a little choppy. Olga, you were great the whole way. You were fluid. It's so funny. We did our testing and it was Olga was the problem.
Yes. Yeah.
And
now
then Q was perfect. And then in the real live thing, Q, your video, you look great, Q, but it's been a little choppy, but it's been okay. And then Olga's been, perfect the whole time. So,
yeah.
But that's the new world we live in, right?
Yeah.
We're only as good as our internet connection in the new world.
Yeah.
Right. It's true. Is it true?
Yeah, sure.
But thank you again. Hey, Olga, send me your mobile number so I can text you a thank you. I got Q's, but I really appreciate it. Yeah. You guys have a great night. Okay.
You too.
All right.
Thank you.
You.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.